Ombudsman Commission identify loopholes in ICAC Bill. Application to transfer accused killer dismissed. And landowners call for review of mining lease.
This is National EMTV News with Jeremy Mogi.
Good night and thanks for joining us for Wednesday's news. The Png Ombudsman Commission has identified loopholes in various sections of the ICAC Bill, which is now out for consultation before it is read the third time and passed as law in Parliament. Chief Ombudsman Richard Png appeared before the Parliamentary Committee and highlighted sections of the new ICAC Bill that infringes on other constitutional office duties, including that of the Ombudsman Commission. He highlighted mostly three areas he thinks the new law, when passed, will duplicate or take away functions from existing agencies.
The Ombudsman Commission of Papua New Guinea is the custodian of the Constitution and keeps a close watch on it. The new ICAC Bill is a step away from being made a new law in the country, and Chief Ombudsman Richard Png says it has already taken away some responsibilities of the Ombudsman Commission, the police and the public prosecutor, quoting different sections of the new bill that infringe on the functions of these three constitutional offices. Section 3 of the new ICAC Bill takes away parts of the criminal code from the police. Section 5 takes away functions of the Ombudsman Commission on the Leadership Code, and Section 34 takes away functions of the public prosecutor. This has left the Chief Ombudsman to question what will become of these constitutional offices.
These three offices that I have mentioned, they are created in the Constitution, and any constitutional development has to be in harmony with the Constitution. And the law must give due consideration to harmonizing any law that is being developed.
Other parts of the new law he thinks is not in harmony with parts of the Constitution include Section 13 that addresses the chairman and its deputies as officers, Section 220 of the ICAC Bill that pronounces this office to be subjected to oversight, among others. He says this new commission should be independent and not subject to oversight if it is serious in dealing with corruption, as Ombudsman Commission enjoys independence without influence in their investigations.
But if there is an oversight body that is created pursuant to Section 220H, then I see a problem.
Ombudsman Png said when the bill was in its draft stages back in 2013, they provided their input for changes to be made, but seems these changes were not taken into consideration. And as custodians of the Constitution, they are given power under Section 19 to seek Supreme Court action if the new law does not harmonize with police, the Ombudsman Commission and public prosecutor. Interim Chairman of ICAC, Thomas Elu, however, said the new laws will complement the work of these constitutional offices and not duplicate or be taken away in any way.
ICAC cannot prosecute, even though we may be mandated by the Constitution to prosecute, without the consent of the public prosecutor. If he doesn't give ICAC the consent to prosecute, they are mandated by the Constitution to prosecute. So we're not taking away the powers of the prosecution from the public prosecutor's office. Similarly to the Ombudsman Commission, we're not taking away the powers of the Ombudsman Commission. We are there to complement. Ombudsman Commission definitely deals in policing the leadership code and deals with mostly leaders, and they don't have the powers to arrest and prosecute, where ICAC is given that mandate.
He also assured Ombudsman Png that the bill went through the different processes before being finalized, including going through the first Legislative Council and the State Solicitor. Ruth Rungula, National EMTV News.
The Waigani National Court has dismissed an application filed by accused killer Bosip Kaiwi seeking a transfer from the custody of the Correctional Service at Bomana back to the Boroko Police Station. The application was stood down from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. today because Kaiwi's lawyer was not present when the matter was first called. Today marks the end of Kaiwi's 14 days of quarantine, and he is expected to be transferred to the Bomana prison.
Kaiwi, who is facing a willful murder charge for the torture and brutal killing of his wife and mother of two, Janeline Kennedy, in June, appeared with his lawyer from the CS custody. Kaiwi's application today was for a transferal from Bomana back to the police station at Boroko, a rare application involving two different jurisdictions. The grounds on which the transferal application was filed were not clearly stated by Kaiwi's lawyer in court this afternoon. However, Justice Mogish did mention in court that he understands the application was filed based on insults. Justice Mogish then advised Kaiwi's lawyer to make a proper application or to file for bail. But the Solicitor General, who represented the Correctional Service and others, submitted that the application was incompetent and would preempt the due process of the court system. Upon dismissing the application, Justice Mogish called on the jail authority to allow the proceedings to take its normal course and ensure the rule of law prevails within the jail premises. Kaiwi is expected to be transferred from the quarantine facility into the main prison compound today. Meanwhile, Janeline has been laid to rest at the 9 Mile Public Cemetery outside Port Moresby last Friday, and the family following closely the case of her accused killer. Kaiwi's case returns to court for second mention on the 30th of this month. Theklagunga, National EMTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape says violence against women in any form will no longer be tolerated. He said this today when reiterating his continuing stance against gender-based and family and sexual violence. He says the government will look into the existing laws and enactments to make amendments where necessary, including mechanisms in place for those who do not report it. At present, the Police Ministry has been instructed to immediately establish GBV and FSV counters at every police station across the country and create separate pathways to address them. The Lands Department has been tasked to deal with housing for citizens, a chronic problem in the country due to urban drift. To address this issue, the department has partnered with 3 major superfunds to help provide affordable housing for public servants, private entity employees, soldiers and other taxpayers. Lands Minister John Rosso says they are planning to have over 5,000 allotments available in the provinces by the end of this year.
There are ongoing discussions with 3 major superfunds to help provide affordable homes for their members. The superfunds include NASFund, Number 1 Super and Comrade Trustee Services Limited or CTSL. In a media conference yesterday, Lands Minister John Rosso said the housing project will target taxpayers in urban areas.
It's why we're saying that we're targeting the urban housing is because of the taxpayers, the people that work in our towns and cities. A lot of them live in settlements and they do not live in proper housing, and a lot of them can't afford to go and a lot of them can't afford to go to the banks and get dinars, or they just can't afford it.
The Lands Minister added that there have always been issues with identifying land for development. The issues include illegal squatters on state lands, ownership issues, and the difficulty of connecting water and electricity. To address these ongoing issues, there is a need for more partnership with all stakeholders to implement this government policy. Through this policy, they are planning to have over 5,000 allotments ready by the end of this year or early next year.
I think with the 3 super funds, hopefully by the end of this year or early next year, we should be able to announce a partnership moving forward with the aim of trying to, my personal aim, a government policy to ensure that a holistic approach is done to make 5,000 allotments available for public servants, and not just public servants but all our people working in our towns and urban areas.
CEOs of the super funds further gave their assurance to work with the Lands Department.
For this to actually come together, we actually need not just the Minister to give that certainty on land, but we also need to make sure that we're working with those other components of the state so we can actually get ourselves into that position of actually living that dream for our members of providing affordable housing.
For NASFund, they have been involved in housing scheme for members, but at varying degrees. But with the help of government through these policies, the CEO is confident something tangible will be resolved for their members.
Not many of our people, our workers have had the benefits. We're only just tapping into the small component there. But this time around, with the help of government through their policy, we want to see if we can provide something at a holistic approach that delivers an affordable model.
With expensive living conditions in the city, CTSL has started a housing scheme for soldiers at Tarama Barracks. An additional 80 hectares of land have been sorted out through the Lands Department for the housing scheme at Igam Barracks in Leh.
And it's the brainchild of the commander that is now being implemented now to provide affordable housing to our members. When you talk about affordability, we qualified as 250,000. 100,000 is the land development cost, which includes utilities, plus the house, which is maximum of 150. So when we talk about affordable housing, we qualified at 250.
The Lands Minister further announced plans for more of such partnership with PNG Power, Adaranu and other stakeholders. Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
This is MTV National News. We'll be back with more stories after the break. Welcome back. Stunting and malnutrition in PNG has led to the development of the National Malnutrition Policy. However, it has taken a while for the policy to be implemented. As a result, the government is now working with the World Bank to identify a new approach. Rayon Lakungu reports.
The fast-track initiative is the new approach to address malnutrition and stunting in the country. The government will be working in partnership with World Bank to roll this out. The Deputy Prime Minister said this approach is timely as the issue of stunting and malnutrition must be addressed.
This has happened in a time when we are rolling out policies affecting education, our young people, our natural resources of this country. To support that and to anchor that drive in the government's belief in building the next generation of Papua New Guineans, the issue of malnutrition and stunting had to be addressed.
The issue of malnutrition and stunting in the country was first identified by World Bank. This led to the development of the National Nutrition Policy by the previous government. However, not much has been done to implement the policy.
Leaders know that World Bank is nearly always called upon to support us, especially in our economic challenges. But on this particular occasion, I myself was very concerned when they came to us, especially in the social sector, to say whether the country was willing to deal with this issue.
Based on the World Bank's Human Capital Index for PNG, a child born today will only be 38% productive when fully grown. Thus, improving nutrition at a very young age is important for a child's development. Addressing stunting and malnutrition requires multi-sectoral approach to food security, feeding and caregiving practices, access to health services, and ensuring a safe and hygienic environment.
This is one first in relation to working with World Bank, from designing the program, in other words, design of the program and implementation of the program and reporting and monitoring.
In driving this issue, the Deputy Prime Minister says the successful implementation of the FTI approach requires all levels of government to work together. A successful implementation of this approach will open opportunities for more of such partnership with World Bank.
Current government is anxious to really deliver because hopefully, if it's successful, then it will open opportunities for some other programs in which we will be collaborating with World Bank.
Rayon Lakingu National, MTV News.
The Sumka District Development Authority has sourced outside funding to build a new district headquarters as most of its infrastructure is run down and not fit for officers to work in. Local member Chris Nangoy received $1 million kina in funding support from the National Forest Authority to construct the building. The building is expected to be completed in September of this year. However, due to COVID-19, work was delayed.
This will be the new district headquarters for Sumcar district. The prefabricated materials were purchased from Belgium and shipped into the country through Cepa's company. The two-story building will house all district offices. The top floor of the building will house the Treasury, the DA, the local MP, and 2 LLG presidents, including a conference room and an electoral office, while the ground floor will house all program managers from all sectors, including agriculture, law and order, education, works, and health. Sumcar DDA decided to put up the new building as the old Sumcar District Administration building was in a rundown state. Thus, it is not proper for public servants to work in rundown buildings. Sumcar MP Chris Nangoy describes public servants as the machinery behind the running of any district, and it is only proper that they are taken care of. Nangoy says construction work started in March of this year and was expected to be completed by September. But due to COVID-19, they were not able to ship materials from China. Thus, they are now expecting the new building to be completed by the end of this year. Nangoy says the new building is an icon of change and a hope for the people of Sumcar district as more developmental changes are forthcoming. Martha Luis, National EMTV News, Medellin.
Prime Minister James Marape, accompanied by ministers and secretarial heads, landed at the Cavite airport this morning and were treated to a ceremonial welcome by elders of New Ireland Province and Governor for New Ireland, Sir Julius Chan, flanked by provincial open members Walter Schnobelt and Ian Ling-Stuckey. The visit to the province was to officiate at the Cavite Airport groundbreaking ceremony that will see improvements to the aircraft pavement, runway, and a new terminal building. Prime Minister Marape, addressing the township of New Ireland, said Cavite is a strategic province with the potential to prosper. He encouraged locally owned businesses to seize the opportunity by bringing in investments from abroad. New Ireland Governor Sir Julius Chan expressed enthusiasm, indicating that the proposed refurbishment will stimulate and develop the province's local economy. The officiation today marks a momentous day for the people of New Ireland, as this is expected to bring about an explosion of increased economic growth and activities for the province. And now looking at the NAS Fund market report, the Kina closed 5 points lower at $0.2940 US in the interbank market this morning. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina is buying $0.2805 US, $0.3975 Australian dollars, $0.2379 euro, and 29.44 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower. Coffee and copra closed higher, cocoa closed lower, crude oil is trading higher, palm oil and copper closed lower. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 556.79 points higher, the ASX 200 is trading at 42.30 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 66.80 points higher. When we return, we'll bring you news making headlines overseas. You're watching Wednesday's news. Overseas now, Victoria has recorded another 238 cases of coronavirus, the fourth highest daily increase in the state since the pandemic began. The state has more than 1,900 active cases, which include 105 people in hospital and 27 in intensive care. It comes as more fines are issued for breaching laws, with authorities warning the time for leniency is long over.
There's been plenty of speculation over the past day or two about Victoria entering stage 4 restrictions. And while the government won't rule out anything for the future, it has reiterated that there are no such plans for now. The latest figures will help ease some concerns. The daily increase is again above 200, but it does suggest some flattening at the moment. Victoria Police has now checked more than 85,000 vehicles leaving the containment zone, issuing more than 150 fines. There have also been calls for people to do better inside the lockdown, with people still flouting the rules. There have been more examples today of people hosting parties, trying to dine in at KFC, and even playing Pokemon Go.
Reasons for leaving your premises are well known. I can say they don't include playing Pokemon. A couple of mates out in the car travelling around playing Pokemon doesn't fit within those reasons to leave.
I'm not foreshadowing stage 4. I'm simply speaking as plainly as I can. If people don't follow the rules, then additional restrictions become more likely.
A woman in her 90s has become the third person in the past couple of days to die from coronavirus. Health authorities are warning that until the numbers start to come down, more deaths are highly likely.
Businesses might be forced to display a contact tracing code as the New Zealand government struggles to get Kiwis to use its tracing app. That could be a major problem if COVID-19 re-emerges in the community. The New Zealand Prime Minister outlining plans for such an outbreak.
Just 2 more cases of COVID-19 today caught in managed isolation at this Rotorua hotel. But there's a chance it might not stay that way.
Our frontline border and airline staff and staff in our managed isolation facilities are in daily contact with returnees carrying the virus. Even our most experienced and trained support workers have in the past picked up COVID.
Australia's rapidly growing outbreak stemmed from just 2 people in a Victorian isolation facility. The state recording another 238 cases today. The Prime Minister says if the same thing happened here, the country could move back to alert level 4, or lockdowns might be imposed on a smaller scale as seen overseas.
Apartment blocks and workplaces, it has in some areas been as contained as that. In other scenarios, it could be a suburb, it could be an entire town.
Door-to-door testing also an option, as well as bringing in the army to manage temporary regional borders. But it's the contact tracing app that's causing most concern.
Based on the number of poster scans we're seeing, not enough New Zealanders would be able to remember their movements for us to efficiently trace who has been exposed to the virus.
Fewer than 600,000 people have downloaded the app, and at the moment there are only around 10,000 scans a day. Not a lot for a team of 5 million.
Sometimes it doesn't scan properly for me.
Haven't used it?
No.
Can't be bothered, it's a waste of time. I just haven't got the app. I feel a need to trace my location.
Haven't heard of it, sorry.
The government will likely spend more money to promote the app, and it won't rule out forcing businesses to display codes as an alert level 2.
Life is almost back to normal for us, but we have to remember this virus is accelerating, the pandemic is getting worse around the world, and so we need to be prepared.
My message to all New Zealanders, please step up your efforts.
So team, it's time to start downloading and scanning.
Working from home has become the new normal for many in recent months, and that includes the Queen. She's been speaking via video call to members of the British Armed Forces stationed around the world about their work during the pandemic.
She normally meets her servicemen and women face to face, but just now it has to be done via a conference call. No reason to forget protocol though. Watch the top right of the screen.
Good morning.
Yes, if you're a general, chief of the defence staff no less, you begin with a bow. And then to business. First, to a sailor speaking from a Royal Fleet Auxiliary ship in the Caribbean.
And where are you at the moment?
I'm currently in Curacao at the moment, ma'am.
Well, I would think the last time I saw you, you wouldn't have imagined that this is what you'd be doing now. In Hollyport we met.
Yeah, it was, ma'am. In 2014, I believe it was.
Then to West Africa and a soldier from the Yorkshire Regiment who's been there since last year.
The COVID crisis has meant that the rest and recuperation flights have been put on hold. So I'm afraid my wife has been slightly abandoned with our 2 young children.
And she works for the NHS?
She's training nurses and other healthcare professionals.
Finally, to a member of the Queen's Colour Squadron of the RAF, who has rather an unusual sideline.
So I'm the pilot for the Jamaican bobsleigh team.
Gosh, sounds a very dangerous job.
It can be quite dangerous.
So how do you train?
So I've been pushing a car up and down the street. I've had to make a gym.
Well, I suppose that's one way to train.
Yeah, so that's definitely one way to train, Mum.
Well, I'm very glad to have been able to meet all of you, and the best of luck.
Back home, U.S. Ambassador to PNG Kerry McKee arrived in Wewak, East Sepik Province yesterday. Ambassador McKee was officially welcomed by East Sepik Governor Alan Bird upon her arrival. Governor Bird expressing excitement at her visit, stating he is hopeful that this is the first of many more visits that she will make to the province. Ms. McKee has recently made calls for the protection of PNG's sea resources, this at the launch of the Ocean Policy 2020 to 2030. A member of the U.S. Senior Foreign Service, Ms. McKee is designated to Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu and the Solomon Islands. She speaks Russian, Spanish and Bahasa Indonesia. Landowners of Hidden Valley Mine in Bulolo have applied for a court order to halt the extension of the existing mining lease for another 5 years. Chairman of Nakui Landowner Association, Rex Maury, said there will be no extension until the new Memorandum of Agreement is reviewed and signed. The signatories to the MOA are the landowners, the provincial government, the national government and the developer.
The landowners of Hidden Valley Mine held a press conference in Bulolo at the beginning of this month to air out their frustrations over the government's delay to review and sign a 2014 Memorandum of Agreement. Their concerns were sparked by the Morebek Consolidation Goldfield Limited's lodgement to the Mineral Resources Authority to extend the term of the mining lease for 5 years beyond its expiry date in March 2025. Spokesperson and chairman of the Nakui Landowners Association, Rex Maury, said the MOA was to be reviewed in 2012 and 2 years after, but that has not eventuated to date. Mr. Maury said the landowners have filed a court order to hold the extension until the issue with the MOA is sorted.
And I appeal to the Prime Minister, if you want the black nation, rich country, Papa Grandblade Hidden is still crying. And we are good people. We are not in Highlands. We are not in somewhere. Maybe like some front or something. Maybe like talk normal. Tomorrow enough. Yep. Enough is enough. Yep. We can die on our land. We talk now, not talk now. Yep. As I said, maybe like it wrong now. Maybe like referring the police to do the investigation. Nothing happened. Maybe like the Ombudsman Commission. This is under the leadership code. Something's wrong. Check him. Nothing happened. Yep. Someone is manipulating from 10th level down there. You can play around in another place. Yes. We didn't really enough. That's the last resource we plug with you. Yep. If you still play around like that, goodbye, Hidden Valley.
According to Mr. Maury, this year is supposed to be the 4th term of review, according to the initial MOA in 2012, which indicated a review every 2 years. He claims the landowners had had discussions with stakeholders in 2014 for this review, and the MOA was put forward for signing, however has not eventuated. The landowners say they have nothing against the company's move for the 5-year extension, however want the new MOA so benefits go down to the landowners.
So mipla mama feeling big pain. Lo one something company na government work lo make him lo mipla. So mipla bago lo one road. Now mipla come lo display time where government must look survey. Must harim tribe lo mipla people lo place. Na must come down lo sign him this la MOA blo mipla na mipla must silly good lo good pla house, mipla must run good lo good pla road, or say mipla len on blo Hidden Valley Mine.
Meanwhile, Bulolo MP Sam Basil said the matter is out of his hand as the District Development Authority is not a party in the MOA. However, he is willing to work with the landowners to see where the holdup is.
So we want to work together, and I asked that I'll try and make contact with Rex and bring him down to Mosby, and we can go and find out where the MOA is, and I can assist them. But as I've said, I don't have powers to move the MOA because we are not mentioned in the MOA.
Mr. Murray said the landowner should get the court order by tomorrow at the latest. Charlene Airy, National EMTV News, Lay.
Chukai Sports is next, and we cross to Fidelis at the Chukai Sports desk.
Thank you, Jeremy. Chukai Sports is next. Don't go away.
Chukai Sports.
And welcome to Chukai Sports. The Papua New Guinea Volleyball Federation has been given the approval to commence competition. This has come about after the Federation's commitment to adhere to strict directives from the Pandemic Management Committee.
Papua New Guinea Volleyball Federation has been given the thumbs up by the PNG Sports Foundation to resume.
I think 2 weeks ago on a Tuesday we had this discussion. At the same time we formulated our volleyball COVID-19 resumption protocols. So it went to Dr. Kapua and through the executive director, the acting, which we were advised on Friday last week that we got certificate of approval for us to resume duties so far as volleyball is concerned. So
all volleyball associations affiliated to PNG Volleyball Federation are warned to abide by set protocols and adhere to the Federation's measures with regards to COVID-19's SOPs or standard operating procedures.
There is quite a use of processes and procedures, actions to be taken, like keeping distance, having the distance, making sure just a few points is making sure that the players, when they're off the court, they maintain those distances, they wash their hands using soap, all those nitty-gritties of how much it requires to take care and play safe. Those are very, very critical. Making sure that spectators also sit, and uphold to their social distances. So there's a number of technical aspects of the game that we have captured.
Adding to the excitement of resumption for the volleyball community, the President announces the sponsorship of the National Championships by Bank South Pacific, which will be scheduled towards the end of the year.
National Federation have also decided to have our National Volleyball Championship, so we're probably looking at the end of November or beginning of December. And rugby league, for instance, the Australian rugby league, their state of origin will be in November and December. So we're sort of looking at the same kind of concept where we have the national championships at the end of the year.
Kilawani, Chukai Sports.
With Port Moresby Rugby Football League closing in on its competition kickoff date, they will need all the help they can get to find resources to execute their standard operating procedures. Today, City Pharmacy Limited donated PPEs to the value of 4,000 kina. 70 years is a long time for a competition to exist, and Port RFL is always proud of that. The chairman of Port Moresby Rugby Football League, Dr. James Naipao, says delaying the season because of COVID-19 is not an option.
We've been around in PNG for 70 years of playing the competition non-stop, and we felt that if we stay behind because of the COVID-19, that means that the disease would be victorious.
Port RFL has a standard operating procedure written by Dr. James Naipao, and it has been widely praised. And this has prompted CPL Group to help with the competition. Sudi Guru, who is a consultant with CPL, stressed that it was important to have preconditions in place.
Under the new normal, of course, the game will prevail, but we'll have to see that the safety precautions are in place.
Dr. James Naipao thanked CPL, which has come through with its promise of supplying the infrared thermometer, guns and other personal protective equipment, which Port RFL desperately needs to execute their standard operating procedures.
Trying to get the nitty-gritty to us to start a game, and we thought that PPP was one of those main guidelines that we had. And in the guideline it says that if in the over the PR is going to play, if a player or supporter is coming and then by the time he is picked up a virus from there, the game is going to be completely stopped without season. So that's how tough we've been.
Sudi Guru said CPL was a community-orientated organization which is obliged to help those in the communities, thus having this gesture of giving PPEs worth 4,000 kina in kind.
We are donating few sanitation equipments and masks which are part of the guideline to run the competition. The approximate value of this sponsorship is roughly around 4,000 in kind. That includes, I think, these infrared thermometers, masks, sanitizers, and we will see how do we go.
It is the first time since post-COVID-19 lockdown that the staff from NRL PNG have hosted a holiday school clinic. A small turnout compared to the usual crowds turning up for the clinic, but nevertheless, it also served as an opportunity to practice COVID-19 awareness practices. Yes, the school holidays are here for term 2, and today a lot of energetic youngsters had the opportunity to learn and have fun at the Sir Hubert Murray Stadium Oval 2 in Port Moresby. Since the lockdown, this is the first school holiday clinic conducted by NRL and PNG, but of course with strict new normal protocols.
So we've started with basically washing our hands for 20 seconds, emphasizing on the kids to use hand sanitizers. We've done that today as well. We've also made it possible for kids to play with only one ball, so they haven't been, passing the ball around. So one kid each to a ball, and then emphasizing on social distancing as well, and then coming back to cleaning services and that. We've sanitized all our materials after each session and that. So.
Those students that attended were from schools in Hohola, Hanuabara and Koki.
And the schools we've selected from are the schools that are participating in the LBL program. So we've had Sevese Moria Primary, St. Michael's at Hanuabara, and then we have St. Francis Primary from Koki. And then we also had kids from different schools as well, all of them. We've had some from Tediro and that, so several from the selected schools.
Basic skills of rugby league are taught to students who take part in the League Belong Life program and is extended to the school holiday clinics. Usually it's the hunters who make an appearance to the clinic, but this time Vipers Thompson Tete and team manager Ronnie Titi came by to take part in some drills with the students.
Normally in the past we had hunters doing the holiday clinic with us. So since we haven't had any hunters games, we've decided to get the City franchise boys. So we've started with the Vipers. We had the team manager Ronnie Titi and one of the star players, Thompson Tete, coming over to help us with the school holiday clinic. So we are very proud of that, and we also plan on getting the other City franchise teams as well, Dabaris and ISO, to come on board for the next school holidays.
Development Officer of NRL in PNG, Roland Andare, said it was a strong partnership that enabled the clinic to commence. He also mentioned that the program will continue next term break.
All the outdoor activities were put on hold. We are happy to have our beverage partners, Milo, coming on board to support us with this school holiday clinic, as well as DFED for funding the LBL program. So keeping kids busy during the school holidays.
And more to come after this break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The new Southside Gym located in the Mosby South Electorate was officially opened today. Formalities for the 2 million Kina Fitness Center was officiated by local member Justin Chachenko and NCD Governor Powes Pakop.
The Southside Fitness Center is a product of the partnership between the Mosby South Electorate and the National Capital District Commission. The center includes basketball, netball and volleyball courts, including a car park.
The management will be outsourced to ensure that we get the best management to run, operate, maintain and look after these very, very important facilities.
The fitness center is part of the members' plans to help in addressing social issues and the attitudes of the locals. The member referring to the recent incident in the Koki area last week, resulting in one death.
The facilities are now all being used, and we thank everybody that is coming for that. The most important thing is that we've got this facility now ready to go for the health, hygiene and fitness and change of attitude for our people of Southside, Moresby South. I think that's the most important thing.
NCD Governor Powis Pakop said the 2 million kina was worth it as it contributes to a greater outcome. Health and lifestyle and the quality of life for Papua New Guineans is one of the biggest challenges faced today. The Southside Fitness Center will be under the management of Active City Port Moresby. Their programs include yoga, dances, circus, kickboxing, acrobatics, and many others. The governor has challenged the local electorate and the public to look after the facilities. Kilawani, Trukai Sports.
And that story ends Trukai Sports. The weather forecast for the next 24 hours with Jeremy after the break.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And taking a look at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region. Port Moresby, mostly fine, then possible afternoon showers developing. Daru, cloudy with occasional rain drizzles. Kerma, mostly fine, then chances of afternoon rain drizzles. Alotau, cloudy with rain showers and drizzles. Popondetta, cloudy with occasional light rain drizzles, a high of 31. Over to the Momase region, Inlay, cloudy with rain showers easing. Wewak and Vanimo, mostly fine. Madang, mostly fine, though cloudy at times and a high of 30. Across to the New Guinea Islands in Lorengau, cloudy with possible rain showers. Kavieng, morning rain showers, drizzles easing, then mostly fine. Kokopo and Rabaul, mostly fine though cloudy. Kimbe, cloudy but mostly fine, then possible afternoon showers. Buka, mostly fine and a high of 31 degrees. And finally in the Highlands region, across all centres, morning fog patches clearing, and then mostly fine with a chance of afternoon showers developing.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that's the way it is this Wednesday, the 15th of July 2020. From all of us here at EMTV, pleasant viewing. Good night.